Wade, thank you very much for coming on the podcast,
Right,
mate. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man and you've taken the time out of your day.
Yeah.
Let's start with the present. So just tell me a bit about your life at the minute and what's going on.
So I've got my own company. So I've got my own donut company. It's called Doughnotts. We've got 10 shops now. So we've got 10 shops, 11 sites because we've got our bakery as well. I think we employ around over 100 staff now, maybe about 105 staff and stuff like that. It's not my job to know that. It's like someone else deals with that, so I don't really know that actual number. Yeah, I've been doing it for about 8 years now, 9 years. Well, I always say I've been doing it for 7 years, but someone in the office said to me the other day, they was like, you've been doing it for 7 years for like 3 years now. So maybe you've been doing it. I started 2021. So, no, I didn't.
I read it 2015. You started it.
That's when I started, yeah, 2015, yeah.
Did my research.
So about 8 years, yeah, 8 years now. So, yeah, and then that's it. I own 50% of the company. Megan Scadden owns the other 50% of the company. I handle business development, finance, growth, everything like that. Not really the day-to-day running of the business. We have managers who do that, bakery managers, store managers. Megan handles all HR and all the staff and stuff like that, make sure everyone's happy, make sure everyone's doing the jobs. Implementing budgets and stuff like that, whereas the budgets then come from me and my finance manager, and then we kind of work together closely. Yeah. You generally find that day to day it's just me and her in the boardroom just talking about money and stuff, me and Hannah. But yeah.
Amazing. And it seems like you're opening a new store like every other month.
I know, I'm fucking done with it now for a bit, to be honest. Yeah, it really, by opening stores, like by recycling your cash, like what happens is you open a store, you have like a great first month, and then what happens is that cash then you put into another store. But the brand's grown that much now that we are actually getting this thing called capital contributions. So what that means is like landlords of like shopping centres and stuff will actually come around to you and go, look, here's 40 grand. Will you open a shop here, and we'll give you a 5-year lease with 2 years rent free and everything like that. To put that in perspective, Nando's and Five Guys get £1 million.
Wow.
And their lease is like 10 years, 5 years rent free, 2 years at half rent, then 3 years at full rent.
Wow.
So they get £1 million. That's how these companies like Five Guys and stuff and Nando's, you just see them growing and opening, because if you're getting a capital contribution of £1 million per site that you open, it would probably only cost them about 400 or 500 grand to open a site. Whereas, so yeah, they'll just like recycle that cash, keep recycling and stuff. And that's why you like Doughnotts operates on about a 30 to 40% profit margin, which is incredible in hospitality. But you'll look at someone like Frankie and Benny's and stuff, will operate on a 2 to 5%. And that's why you see like loads of them about, because it's all about volume, a little bit of profit out of each one and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we're okay. We're good. Like, yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I've decided to take a couple of days off work, so I just can't be arsed with it at the minute.
Right.
But that's just what it is. Like, you know, the reason why directors get compensated the way that there is because generally our lives are pretty shit. Sounds crazy, like, because, I mean, for a start, people think I have got, like, fucking 100 million quid in the bank. Like, I have not. Like, I've just got a normal life, like, normal wage. Like, I do okay for myself, but I'm not that flush to the point where people think I am. Do you know what I mean?
It's a misconception.
Yeah, everything I do is just invested back into the company. Do you know what I mean? Some months you have good months, some months you have bad months. To put it in perspective, like, people see Doughnotts now as a company and they're like, oh yeah, it's like, you know, you've got donut shops. Like, Doughnotts cost about £39,000 a week to run. So like 39k a week is what we have to make.
Yeah.
Before we make profit. Luckily enough, we do okay. We do about 50k a week. Sometimes even more. We've had some weeks where we've done like 70k before. But people seem to think that I'm like, oh, that's mine, and it really is not.
I imagine as well, you're the last person to get paid, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I grew up with my dad being in construction.
Yeah.
And I've seen this. He's got to pay everyone else's mortgage,
Yeah.
So he's the last guy that's getting paid at the end of the month.
100%, and that's why it's important that directors really look after their own finance and really look after their own money and not get too loose with it. I have been really loose with it before, but I just kind of lost my head with it a couple of years ago. And whereas like now, I make sure I have like enough reserves and stuff like that. I make sure that I've got enough cash to basically for like the next 2 years. If I never got paid again, I'd be absolutely fine. I could cover all my bills, still have the life I have. Obviously, it takes a bit of a hit, but you're always the last person to get paid, and you know that is the fucking realization of running a big company. Unless, well, it's not a big company; it's a medium-sized company, small company. But if you look at someone like Google or Apple and stuff. What those guys kind of do is that, so if they're not hitting their profit margins for that quarter, they'll fire a percentage of the staff in that quarter and then rehire in the next quarter. So if they're bored sitting there and going, oh yeah, your profit's down like 25 million, they'll get rid of enough staff to cover that 25 million,
Right, okay.
and then they'll rehire in the next quarter, and it's a way to keep the board happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And stuff.
that makes sense.
We're not like that. We just kind of, you know, it's good times and bad times. It's all long term as well. But now I'm kind of getting to that point where, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of just a little bit bored. Like, I'm kind of feel like I'm just like...
You squeezed all the juice out the orange a bit?
Yeah. Like, I'm kind of... it's weird. I'm in this weird space at the minute. I don't think I've got enough energy to start something else. I don't think I could start something else again until something else kind of like falls into my lap. But I don't think that... You know, business is constantly testing, and... You know, you try something, it don't work. You try something, it don't work. You try something, it don't work. Like, as a director, your life is pretty much negative. You know, you get you're dealing with problems, you got to sort this, you got to pay that. Like, you get, like, little glimpse of, like, goodness sometimes and that, where you open up a store. But you see, like, people think, oh, yeah, Wade's got 10 shops and stuff. I don't see a return on those stores for another year because it needs to have a year's worth of trading. Well, my accountant will go, yeah, you can take a little bit out of that one and stuff. But yeah, we're just kind of doing it. I sound a bit doom and gloom and stuff like that. Maybe it's because the headspace I'm in at the minute with work. But it's not all doom and gloom. Like, I work with an amazing bunch of people. You do, as your company and as your business gets bigger, that you generally find that, you know, when you want to start your own business, the thing that people always talk about is time. It's not really money, like, because you don't know how much money you're going to earn when you first start something. Yeah. It's all about, I can be my own boss. I can go to the gym when I want and stuff like that. And, you know, when you get to the point where I am, that's took for granted.
Yeah.
The fact of, like, you can just take a day off, or you can go on holiday, or you can go do anything that you want. I need to go early today because I need to go to the doctors, whereas people can't get to the doctors because they work Monday to Friday and doctors close at 5 or 6 o'clock on a weekday. So, yeah, and I'm kind of just like... That's where I'm at the minute. I'm just kind of, I don't know if I've answered your question. I just usually go off on one, but I'm kind of like just in a bit of a spot at the minute where I'm just kind of really trying to figure myself out. And I'm learning a lot about myself because I need to benefit my company and me, if that makes sense.
How old are you now, mate?
31.
31. So a year older than me.
Yeah, 31. And I'm feeling it, man. Like, I'm feeling it. I did not think that I was going to be 31 and be in the position that I am. Like, the position that I am with work, like, if I'm being honest, I always knew I was going to do something. I always only ever wanted to be just somebody. Yeah. I just wanted to be that guy where people are like, God, do you know who that is? Do you know what I mean? It wasn't nothing to do with having a nice car, a nice house or anything like that. But I find, like, I can go and do business really easy, but I can't do, like, relationships. I can't do, like, personal stuff. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that, that's why I'm, like, single. That's why it seems to break down and stuff. But yeah, that's my next chapter.
That's the next thing to figure out.
Yeah, I kind of thought I'd be married with kids now and stuff like that and things. But, you know, sometimes you got to make decisions for yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, mate. And I think everyone's on a different path, right? There's a lot of young lads now, mate, same age, thinking the same kind of thing, you know.
And there's pressure. Like, I've noticed, like, dating in your 30s, and man, the fucking thing is that women go on about straight away in the dates is their eggs. Yeah. Every fucking time. It's like, oh yeah, my eggs dropped by 50% at 30. I'm like, this is the second time seeing you. You know what I mean? Like, hello. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fucking Jesus. But, yeah.
Mate, let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Okay. I just want to get an idea for, like, what you were like when you were younger. I've got, like, a bit of a theory that your basic personality traits and characteristics, they kind of stay with you throughout your whole life, and the environment and the people you're around kind of nudge you in a certain direction. What was the environment like that you grew up in, and who were the people that were around you?
So, like, surprisingly not that great, to be fair. So, like, I had Dad left at 2.
Right.
My mum's disabled. She was in that hospital all her life. She's in a wheelchair now. She lives with my grandparents. I was raised by my grandma and granddad. So was my sister. You know what grandparents are like, they just feed you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just became really big, I became really overweight. Not really. My mum like lost the house.
Right.
She like lost the house. Like, she got like hurt by like multiple men. Like, got married to her and then just like fucked her off and stuff. Like, she's had it tough. But yeah, raised by grandparents. Overweight as a kid. Always the fattest lad at school. Year 7. I was 11 stone and I was like 4'2" or something like that. Bullied all the way through school.
On like your weight?
Yeah. Bullied on that and stuff. I was always a joker. Like, I was always one of the boys, but I was always getting the, you know what I mean? Like, I never went out, never did anything, never went out after school and stuff. Just played PlayStation, World of Warcraft, whatever and stuff. And I just kind of did that. That's where I think a lot of my problems come with, like my anxiety and stuff like that and things.
Did you spend a lot of time on your own when you were a kid?
Yeah. Just like in my bedroom and stuff like that. Anxiety towards going to school, anxiety towards like what I was going to wear at school, what people would say to me and stuff like that, you know, getting the shit kicked out of you at school and stuff and things. And it's just kind of like, that's the thing that you'll find with me, is that no matter how hard it gets, I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Like, I don't ever think that, like, I'm grateful for all that stuff. I don't necessarily know whether that's made me today. Like, I don't look back on them times and go, thanks for that. Like, no, like, I don't thank people for that. You fucking treated me like I was a piece of shit all my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, people at school and stuff. And then went to college, did sport.
Did you fit in at school, mate? Did like mainstream school work for you?
Yeah. I was a joke. Yeah, like, I was a joker. I find that, like, with a lot of it, when I was at school and stuff, it was always like, I like, I'm not smart. I'm quite intelligent. Like, I'm quite like savvy with stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I always had I did really crap at school because I was always getting bullied and I was always getting fucking, you know, my mind was on that all the time. And then I ended up leaving, going to college to do sport. Always active, always played rugby. Like, even at that size, like, I was a monster when I was younger. But like, I used to play prop, and then basically, like, you know, being 5 foot and being like nearly 18, 19 stone. Like, and then what happens is props end up being like 6'2", and then I was like, you know, like, these lads are battering me. And then I just kind of went to college, did sport, left college, let's go work at Toys R Us. Got sacked after the first 2 days. Some guy was just being an absolute dick, and I was like, no, I'm not going back there. Got a job in a residential home for elderly people. Kind of fitted well with me. It was an easy job to get into. Looked after my mum all my life. You know what I mean? Did that for 2 years. Ended up getting. My uncle was a joiner. Cabinet maker. He owns a company called Old English Doors in Colwick, and he offered me an apprenticeship, and he says, I was about 18 at the time, like 17, 18. He said, basically, because you're 18, he was like, we get funding for you, and you get actual minimum wage for an 18-year-old. You don't get the £2 or whatever it was. Right. So I was like buzzing. I was like, these boys do like 50 hours a week. 50 hours a week chilling as well, like early mornings, like, you know, 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, but you're done at 4. Do you know what I mean? That's that. I'm good with that. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I started, left my full-time job, went there, absolutely buzzing. Finally thought, like, I'm getting a trade, man. Like, this is it. I'm gonna start like, everyone's like, Clifton's like banging on trade. You need a trade. Got it. Anyway, 2 weeks later, after starting my apprenticeship, he got me into the office and he was like, we don't actually get funding for you because you're over the age of 16 for the apprenticeship. He says, you get like national apprentice wage, which is like £2.50 something. So I was like, oh, what does this mean then? He was like, oh, that's what you're on. So I went from full-time job to then being on £100 a week. Right. But, you know, I was like, fuck it, stick at it, because you only have to work a year and then you get actual national minimum wage. Okay. Worked a year, struggled like everyone else, all my mates going out. Like, the only thing I did was go to the gym. just a weird time. Like, it was really hard. You know, driving to Newark to go college, and which would cost me 20 quid in fuel, and I'm getting 100 quid a week and stuff, and everything like that. And then when I was meant to start my second year, he come up to me and so I went and got a car on finance, because I was like, right, buzzing. I'm going to have a full-time wage coming in. I know a little bit. I can go and hang some doors for people, do some windowsills or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Just a little bit, make a bit like 40, 50 quid here on weekends. And then I went and got a car on finance, and then he turned around to me and was like, we're not taking you on for the second year. So I was like, fuck me, I've got this fucking car for the next 3 years. It's cost me £380 a month, and I'm fucked. So jumped in my car, drove straight over to Baseford College. I was like, I need an apprenticeship.
Right.
Started talking to the woman, and she was like, I don't think that you want to do joinery. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, I think you're good at talking to people. Have you ever thought about like marketing and stuff? And I was like, no. And she went on like this apprenticeship thing, and she pulled up a marketing apprenticeship at Central College. And I was in like my work gear, like Snickers work gear, dust everywhere and stuff. Jumped in my car, drove to Ruddington, went to the head office at Central College. Went there and I said, went to reception. I said, can I just speak to someone in the marketing department, like the manager? He says, yeah. Anyway, put this guy down, Chris. And he come down, and I just basically told him my story. And I was like, I'm ready to kind of make a change, and I want to do this. Gave me the job, gave me the apprenticeship. Still on 400 quid a month. Just got absolutely, I was just doing whatever I could to make some money. I never did anything illegal, but like, you know, cutting grass for my fucking step. Doing whatever I could, man. Just a bit of money. Megan at this time was working at Next, because me and Meg was together for 8 years. So we was in a relationship for like 8 years. Obviously, we're still in the business together, but then, and I ended up just absolutely like grafting, and it just got to the point, man. I just didn't have no money. Like, I borrowed, and then I just borrowed some money. I borrowed a tenner off an on granddad and made some doughnuts, and I sold them to Rupert, who lives in Cotgrave.
So he's your first customer?
Very first customer. I drove the doughnuts to his, and I sold him 12 doughnuts for a tenner. And then I thought, fucking hell, if he wants to buy them, someone else will. And then this year we'll do 3 million quid.
3 million quid. Mate, that's an incredible story of how... And I was going to ask you questions of how it led to the inception of Doughnotts, but you've told it perfectly. Yeah. In the beginning, like... Did you have was it quick success when you started the company? You know, did it seem to just snowball fast, or did it take some time? You know, because it seems to me from the outside, someone looking in, that's, you know, I'm proud to be from Nottingham, right? When people think of Nottingham now, people do think, what, Doughnotts? Have you had Doughnotts? Like, it's a big part of like the culture of the city, and it seemed to like just come out of nowhere and be pretty big, pretty fast.
It's definitely. I mean, if you think back to Nottingham, probably 2015, 2016, the only thing that was there was Annie's Burger Shack. That's the only thing you knew about.
I can remember
Nottingham.
That being quite a thing. Everyone would go there, they'd talk about it a bit.
And now it's Doughnotts and 200 Degrees. They're the two biggest brands in the hospitality sector in Nottingham at the minute. But yeah, regarding the success, we just started selling them on Facebook. Generally, and I give this out as a bit of advice to people who get into like catering and everything. Your friends will buy your shit. Like, they'll buy it. Don't quit your job just on your friends buying your stuff, because it will dry off. It will run out. We sold loads to our friends, gave loads away for free, started selling them on Facebook, deliveries. And mate, they were fucking gash. They were terrible.
Is the recipe the same as it was?
No. We've improved it massively and stuff, because our recipe changes with humidity, heat, everything like that. So our recipe's like quite seasonal.
Right.
The recipe kind of stays the same. The recipe does stay the same. It's just the measurements of like less water, more water and stuff. We just sell them on Facebook, and we just fucking blagged it. We was like, someone would buy a box, would go deliver it. We were on like AA route planner, trying to put all these postcodes in and figure it all out and stuff, like ringing them, yep, we'll be there in like 20 minutes, like, don't worry. And we just did it. We just did that. Kept doing it, ran it from Megan's mum says that we're allowed to do it from her home, which is, you know, really grateful for that. Did it. And then we got offered a market pitch at the Nottingham Castle Food and Drink Festival. And they were like, oh, you can have it free. Like, you're upcoming, like, you can have it free. And I kind of knew the guy who ran it through the marketing department at Central College.
Right, okay.
And we went, man, and we took like $5,500 every weekend. And I was like, that's one of our year's earnings in a weekend. Like,
what age were you at this? What age were you both
this was probably 21.
21.
Yeah, 21, 22. And then we got offered a shop from this girl called Harriet at the first shop on. So before that, sorry, we got a market pitch on Thurland Street, which was like, that was the hardest time of mine and Megan's life. We was just like, I was dropping her off in the morning, I was going back to the bakery making the donuts. About 4 o'clock, go pick her up, take the market pitch down, and was doing that like 5 days a week and stuff, just building up some cash. And then we ended up getting, basically this girl DM'd us, and she was like, do you want I've got this shop in Market Square, this little underground shop thing. And I was like, yeah, we'll come have a look. Anyway, she turned around to me, she was like, it's $4,500 a year rent. Do you want it? And I was like, well, fucking hell, do it. Anyway, we said yeah, got in there. She took all her stuff out. We actually, we just kitted it out. We do what every small business does. It's like pallets everywhere. Just fucking rip some pallets apart. Go down, find some pallets from somewhere, just rip it apart. And we had a little micro bakery at this point, and it was like 200 square feet. Still no staff, just me and Meg. We had retail staff. I think we had one baker back then, Jason, but we was only open 5 days a week. So me and Jay got 2 days off because we used to have to do the delivery to the store and obviously make the product. And make, like, bear in mind, I was only making like 200, 300, like 200 donuts a day, 250 donuts a day. And then we ended up, and then was open for like, I don't know, like 2 months. This guy comes down the stairs and stuff, and he was like looking around like this, and I was like, "Oh, you're right, mate. Like, can I help you with anything?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm John." And I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And he was like, "Oh, this is my shop." I was like, "Oh." He was like, "Where's Harriet?" I was like, "Oh, she's not been here for a couple of months." And he was like, "Oh." He was like, "So who are you?" So when we got talking, and he was like, basically, he was like, "You're not allowed to sublet," and that's what Harriet was doing. Her business was failing, so she sublet to hers, so she could still pay the rent without him knowing. Yeah. And he's from Bristol, so he never come up here.
Right. Okay.
So to put it in perspective, do you know all where? I
remember the old shop because I used to go in there. Yeah.
So John owns all of that.
Right. Okay.
So he owns all of that. So this little shop's like the least of his worries. He's got flats upstairs that are worth like fucking millions. Anyway. Yeah, and we actually sorted it out, and he was absolutely sound. And he comes into the shop now sometimes, and he's like, "Oh, where's Wade?" And he was like, I was his first landlord and stuff. And yeah, but like, we was in Bristol at the time. Me and Meg was looking at some equipment, and we got a phone call from him. And I said to him, I was like, "Please let me keep this shop. Yeah. Like, I'm starting my life." And yeah, we ended up doing it, and it was pretty straightforward lease and stuff. And then yeah, that was that. And then we opened Derby, Leicester, moved Nottingham, then COVID came, and then everything just stopped. Do
you think there's a real advantage almost being, when I speak to a lot of young athletes, when they're making a transition probably between being like 18 and then getting on a senior team, there's almost like this naivety, not really appreciating what you're doing.
100%.
It's a massive advantage because you're kind of fearless and you don't understand the magnitude of what's going on.
Yeah, you just don't give a shit. Like, you just don't give a shit about the how bad it could be, if that makes sense.
You don't appreciate what could go wrong.
Yeah. You know, like, and I was like a serial on, like, I'd probably say like when I was about 25, 26, I really fell in love with like entrepreneurship. I became like a serial entrepreneur. Like, I had ideas constantly just coming at me, like just loads of different things that I wanted to do, and I was like, I can do this and I can do that, and because I'm a businessman, and I'm like, I've got this and everything like that. And none of it ever came into fruition because I did the worst thing in the world by telling people who I knew about what I wanted to do, and they just literally would say, "Don't do that because that's never going to work." Yeah. But I remember when I told my grandma and granddad I was going to make some donuts for a living, and they were like, "Oh, well, that's not going to work, is it?" And now I employ my sister, my cousin, my nephew.
Do you think when you started the company, do you think that, looking back now, do you think that came out of like necessity, or do you know what I mean? Was it like, I'm getting £400 a month, I'm not getting enough money? Was it almost you had no choice in a way? Do you know what I mean?
I had nothing to lose. Yeah. If it didn't work, I had nothing to lose. Yeah,
you had nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. So I just thought, why not? And you know, straight away, you know, when you start a donut company, And I've always found this with Doughnotts and everything like that, and everything that I do with like Doughnotts and stuff. Like people go, oh, yeah, but they're not as good as Krispy Kreme, are they? And I'm like, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm an electrician. I was like, I'm not saying you're the best electrician on the planet. I'm just saying like you're a good electrician. Do you know what I mean? I'm not comparing you against anyone. Yeah. But people seem to think that they can compare you against everyone else, and it's
probably
kind of
good because it probably means that's good, right?
Yeah.
If they're comparing you to the big players in whatever you're in, that means that you're doing a good job, right? You've got to be disruptive and
well, that's what we are. That's what my mentor calls me. Is he says you're a disruptor. He says you're everything that you shouldn't be around. Like you shouldn't be doing it. He says you're going against grain. Like my mentor, he works in packaging, and he owns his own packaging company. He's like multi-millionaire, and he's like, yeah, I just do packaging. It was like, but you are going against the grain. It was like you was the originator of it. Every donut company that you're out there, Planet Donut, Project Day, all these guys, they all literally, if you look at their donuts, they are what Doughnotts is. And, you know, I started that. I was like the instigator of it. Do you know what I mean? Like he calls me the godfather of donuts and stuff like that. And because what you'll find is with these other donut companies, like I care so much about the product. Like the fact is like that someone could eat my donut and go, I didn't like that. Kills me.
Yeah.
Kills me. Do you know what I mean? But also as well, what people don't understand is if they do eat a donut and they go, oh, I didn't quite like that one. Well, we have got 18 other flavours you can choose from. And you didn't risk it by going for something that you're not quite used to. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, you should try a different one and stuff. But yeah, like, I was nothing to lose. What you know. And there was never a goal to make millions of quid, millions of pounds.
What about that? That just came. That was like a byproduct of
it was just
being
about
successful.
Just about being somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I was embarrassed. Like to start with.
Do you think that you've said that a couple of times? Where do you think that comes from? Do you think that comes from, being bullied at school when you were a kid, or?
Yeah. So in my family, you are you're children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Never
that
had
generation.
Never had an opinion. Do you know what I mean? Don't get involved. You're a kid. Do you know what I mean? You're a kid until you've had a kid. That's how it was. Do you know what I mean? No voice, no opinion. A lot of it from school and stuff like that.
Almost like you got a bit of a chip on your shoulder, like was there a bit of that, like something to prove?
Yeah. You got to have a bit of like you got to back yourself. You got to have a bit of confidence and be a bit like like I can do that. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm going against everything that I've ever been taught. Like go to school, get a job, like work until you're 60 and die, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't. Yeah, you do have a little bit of. Yeah, I reckon I had a chip on my shoulder a couple of years ago for the worst reasons, for the wrong reasons, Like now I'm just chill. A lot of my friends actually say, well, to be honest, all of them say now, like over the past year, like you've become someone completely different where you used to be wild and now you're just so chill. Like, but I think that's what comes with being on your own, spending time on your own and it being silent all around you. That's the hardest thing about being on your own is just the silence of coming in at night and no one's there.
Yeah.
And you having to sit and be with yourself, do you know what I mean? It's hard.
Did you find that, like, as the company started getting more successful, that your identity was increasingly becoming more intertwined with Doughnotts? So in terms of, oh, you know this guy, he's a Doughnotts guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm Wade.
Yeah.
And I do know, did that become a thing?
100%. Like, 100%. Like, a prime example of that is, like, about 5 months ago, I, like, jumped on Tinder. I was like, I've got to meet someone. I've got to fucking meet someone. Like, I'm fucking going out of my mind here. Jumped on Tinder, did a profile, didn't put what I did, just put director. Nothing really much happening, you know what I mean? Just general Tinder stuff. Not getting loads of matches and stuff. And then, bam, I put director of Doughnotts. Loads. And I was just like, that's really, really hard because if I was to see somebody... Like, say if I was out and I see a girl or something like that, I don't automatically sit there and think, what does she do? I could not care if you fucking work in a charity shop or whatever, as long as you're a nice person and you've got some sort of goal in life.
Yeah.
You know, this might be temporary, but, like, you know where you want to be.
Yeah.
I really aspire to that because also, well, like, being 31, it would be nice to meet someone who you can build a life with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Buying £1 million house is hard on your own. It'd be good if there was two of you buying it, though, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's definitely identify. I became Doughnotts, like, which is sad, really, because it's like.
Does that make it hard at times to, like, build, like, honest relationships or new relationships?
Yeah. And I've still, like, the thing is, my friends who I've got around me now, they are, and like I don't know if any of them really like listen to it or are going to watch this Sunflower, but it's going to rustle some feathers. But I know exactly who the people are, like who are just there for that. Like people seem to think like, oh, don't let them take advantage of you. Like, do you think I walk in and be like, right, who wants a drink? I'll buy a round of beers or something like that. But I'm not going to walk in and pay for your night for you. I'm not a fucking mug. And that's another thing of people saying stuff like that to me, but they're not not thinking about the fact of, like, oh, Wade don't know what he's doing, so I need to give him some advice. And it's like, well, why don't you think I know what I'm doing? Have I not proved enough that I know enough about shit to fucking get where I am? I'm not going to let someone take all my stuff away from me. Do you know what I mean?
I guess it depends as well, like the context of your life, your friends and people are giving you advice in, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah. I mean,
if someone came to me and was like, hey, you shouldn't be teaching gymnastics. Like, what?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But you see, and also what I've realised with people is that people have literally fuck all going on in their lives that I don't care about. Like, I don't care about anyone's life other than mine. I really don't. I don't think anyone should have an opinion on your relationship or what you do or anything. If you are struggling and you need some support, it's good to be there as a friend to go, look, I'm here for you whenever you need it. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
But no, you should never have an opinion on it. And that's what I find with my life, that everyone seems to be opinionated. When actually, you should... If you actually like think about it, like someone, like people say to me like shit like, this is what you want to do. And I'm like, and I've actually lost my shit with people before, and I've been like, you really should be listening to me. Like you can't give me advice. Like you pull snippets of advice off everyone, like some like little bits and like you least expect it. But I hate that. This is what you should do. You know, you're doing this and that's great. And if it's going good, it's going good. And if it's not, it's not. But if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. I haven't got an opinion on it. You know what I mean? Like, whereas it's like, that's why
there's too many people that are just focused on other people, what other people are doing, and they're not their own path. And, you know, I did it as an athlete, mate, when I was growing up. I'd watch everybody and know what everyone was doing. It wasn't until right at the end of my career, I wasn't bothered. I don't care. I'm doing my thing. I'm just bothered about that. There's too many people that have got, like you say, a lot of time on your hands. I think that social media and stuff doesn't help with that.
No. I do,
keeping up with the Joneses, isn't it?
Oh, like I do strongly believe like people have that, like people have fuck all going on in their lives, so they just want to cause some fire somewhere.
Some people exist in conflict. That's what I've found. They don't know how to be without conflict.
And I, you know what? It's funny you should say that, because I was talking to my counselor about this, and I have because my life is so dramatic with problems and, you know, stress and everything like that. Like, I've met some amazing people, like relationship-wise. I've met some amazing girls who are just, there's nothing wrong with them. They're absolutely perfect in their own way. The problem is it's with me because of the life that I've been given, is that because I'm so used to stress, the fact of when it's silent, and there's nothing to kind of argue about, I'm forcing it. The prime example is coming in being like, oh, you're right, babe. And like, on the phone, like, yeah, I'm all right, yeah. And you're like, are you? She just said that she's all right. She's fine. Like, but then I'm like, oh, fucking hell, what have I done? Starting something. Because as my mentality is, and I'm really working on it, is I'm always trying to fix it. Always trying to fix it. But the most amazing part is I recognise that. People don't necessarily know themselves anymore. I know myself through and through, to the point where I can almost stop myself from doing that and going, right. I think it's just like
self-discovery, innit? It's just learning yourself. That's self-awareness, mate. I'm doing the same thing. I have the same issue in my circle of friends and family. I'm the guy that everyone comes to, and my knee-jerk reaction is to jump in 2-footed and fix it. There's a problem, I'll sort it out. And actually, in the last 6 or 7 months, I've decided, right, I'm doing the same thing, so I'm just hitting my head against a brick wall. I need to take a step back. And if I still think the same thing in a couple of weeks, then I'll say it. I need to stop trying to fix everything for everyone, because it ain't going to work. Like, it doesn't help. A lot of the time, it makes situations worse.
100%. Like, you shouldn't...
And that's just me trying to learn about myself. And rather than being... I don't know whether you'd agree with this, but when I was younger, if I'd make a mistake, in my head I'd be like, I can't believe you're a fucking idiot. Why did you do that? Whereas now I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Oh, I did that because of this. I'll try next time not to do that.
I'm like so self-destructive. Like but it all comes from childhood.
Yeah.
Getting bullied as a kid. You know, you're always in the wrong. Like, you know, everything you do is wrong. And that's my biggest challenge now of like, you know, I'd love to be this kind of person where they sit there and they're like, they're not bothered. Like, I don't really care what people think about me and stuff. But like, I find that, like, you know, when people are just absolutely savage, like they're relentless, they couldn't give a shit. They'll say what they want and do what they want. And then there's no filter to them at all. Like, there's something envious about that, of having that self-confidence enough to be like, I'm the most important person in my life and I need to be what I want to be. Whereas like me, I'm constantly like, oh, is that decision right? You know what I mean? Oh, did I talk to that person properly? Did I feel constantly questioning myself all the time? And that's something I'm really learning.
But that's probably what's enabled you to get to the point that you're at, you know? And there's always that question. There's two sides of a coin, right? And there's the thing that makes you really good in the environment you exist in, but it also can be probably a detriment at times, and that's probably why you struggle at times with it.
And like 100%, like it's that comes from, I channel that, like whenever I'm feeling shit into like work,
overwork,
and then overwork, and then it grows, and then I'm like, and then I burn out, and then I'm like, I can't, like, one thing for me is like, I generally struggle to be on my own. Like, I find it so hard to be on my own space, fighting it all the time. But I always say to myself, it's like 7 o'clock at night or 7:30 when I get back from the gym or from, I don't know, work or whatever. All I've got to do is graft it until 10. Graft it until 10 and then go to bed. You just got fucking 2.5 hours you got to fucking pull yourself out of this hole with, clean your house, do something. Because people say that, like, you know, you need to fall in love with being on your own and stuff like that.
I think there's a real taboo about being our age and admitting that you're lonely. And when I was like 25, 26, I was crippled with loneliness. I'd sit there on my bed on a Saturday night, and my brother and my best mate would go out on a night out, and I'd just sit there crying because I was just so alone. And there's nothing wrong with that, and it's common. It's really common. You know?
And I've found that, like, now, like, one of the hardest things I'm coming to terms with at the minute is the fact that friends aren't there anymore. I'm 31, everyone's having kids, buying houses, got misses and stuff. I'm the only single one out of everyone. I can't just text my mates, go, do you want to go for a beer? You can't just reach out to people and be like, look, I need you, because they may be busy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't just expect to be a priority in my friends' lives anymore. That's really fucking hard. But that's the hardest, that's probably the hardest thing of coming to terms with, like,
everyone's moving on.
You are now physically on your own. Like, you've got to do this. Like, theoretically, I should have a relationship, maybe a kid or something now, do you know what I mean? And, like, now I'm just kind of, like, really finding that hard, to the point where, like, my group chats on my phones used to be pinging all the time, like, talking to each other. Now it's nothing. And I find it really hard. Like, last year was really hard. I was with someone for about a year and a half, and I'd wanted to be with her since I was about 15, 16, and we broke up. And then my best friend moved to Dubai, and it was like the two people I spend all the time with in the world are gone. Like, what do? You've kind of you kind of like burnt your bridges with your friends a little bit, because you was that guy who had the misses and stuff and everything like that. And and then that was really hard. And I went off the rails last year. I was, you know, drinking every weekend, doing drugs and stuff like that. You know, it's just a natural order of being, like, it just happened, do you know what I mean, and stuff. And then I ended up, like, pulling myself out of it. The turning point for me was when I was like, my mum come round and I'd crashed my car, and I don't know how. And she came around and she was like, what have you done? And I was like face first in my back garden, like, sick coming out of my mouth. And I was just like, I just don't want to be here anymore. Like, I'm exhausted. I can't do this. And it's not, I didn't have a turning point where I, like, snapped out of it. I didn't have anything like that. But over time, I've just kind of really, really, like, grafted against getting myself into that state again. Do you know what I mean? I know that alcohol don't work well with me. Drugs, I haven't touched drugs in a very long time now, and I'm happy about that. I will go out and have a beer, but I won't necessarily, you know, get blasted. Because, like, I went out, it was my friend's birthday on Saturday. I've been out for 3 months and got drunk and stuff. And if I'm being honest, it's fucked my head a little bit. I didn't go to work yesterday. Probably didn't go today. Probably won't go tomorrow. because I'm only human and I'm so in touch with who I am at the minute, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I'm recognising that, oh, okay, like me and my boys used to go out every Saturday, every single Saturday, and I could never do it now. And that's a hard fact, because all my ex wanted was just a nice family.
Yeah.
And I was always going out and stuff.
You weren't ready for that. Yeah.
I was going through a lot.
Yeah.
I was going through a hell of a lot.
Talk to me about you've brushed on it a lot there. What is the reality of being a business owner? What is the stuff that people don't see? You know, you get everybody, every Tom, Dick and Harry saying, oh, I've got this idea and, you know what, I could have started a business, or if it's in a sporting context, it's, I would have made it, you know, I was the most talented kid on the team. And it's like, you sat in the pub, we're here, and you're talking about the glory days that were 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what is the reality of being that person? I know that it's you and Megan, but like, what's the reality? Because I don't think people really understand that. Because I always say to people, like, my girlfriend works in the school, and let's say there's the head teacher, the deputy head, and I say, look, Connie, you don't always get paid. You get paid more to take on more stress. Yeah. That's how it works. Yeah. Like, you're getting paid more money if you're putting your head on the chopping block when things go wrong. Yeah. And I imagine being in your position, it is very high stress.
100%. Like, you know, someone sells a donut to someone, and, you know, they have an allergic reaction to it, and it was done out of negligence and stuff like that. I could go to prison for that. Like, you know, a kid dies, like, like the whole Pret situation. You know, you have public liability and stuff, and that's why you're a limited company, but it does go up the food chain, you know what I mean? I don't know, I can't really talk about Megan's reality of it, because Megan seems that she's got a really, really nice family life now, and I'm dead happy for her with that. Like, she just seems better, do you know what I mean? And she's with someone now who can give her a lot more than what I could have ever give her, emotionally and stuff, do you know what I mean? But I suppose my reality is that, just, lonely, quiet, bored, constantly kind of judging yourself, constantly, you know, finding it hard, like finding my life really hard. Like, I have like my own house and everything, and maintaining that whilst going to the gym, whilst running a business, whilst growing your business, trying to have some sort of social life, and then trying to date as well. Like, I find it so hard, do you know what I mean? To the point where, like, I can't do all them elements together. Some of them have to drop sometimes. I was like relentless dater about 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months ago. Every night I was dating someone else and stuff like that. And man, my house was a shithole. Like, I was buying clothes all the time because I was like not washing my clothes. So I was having to buy clothes and stuff. Just get us in a mess. Do you know what I mean? Just get yourself in a mess. But like I suppose right now, I'm probably not happy. I'm not happy. I don't ever sit there and laugh my head off because we're doing so well. Business is hard. Hospitality is hard now. Do you know what I mean? COVID fucked us. COVID fucked everyone.
How did you navigate COVID, like, as a business?
Oh man, just fucking crossed the fingers and just tried to fucking get through it.
Was it hard? Was that hard, or is it almost harder on the back end, like getting out of it?
Yeah, so that's why you'll see a lot of companies now are going bust.
Yeah.
Obviously, all that loans and stuff they could have get some through it and stuff like that. The thing is, with COVID, you just had a certain amount in your bank, and it was just going down, 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 down. Your job was not to make more, just to slow that as fast as you can. Right, don't need paying this month. That's going to save this much money. Right, do we need to pay for that? Do we need to buy that? Have we got any of that? Could I get that cheaper and stuff? You know, you learnt more about your business in COVID than you've ever done. That's what we say anyway.
Right.
But yeah, like, that took its toll. Like, I've had a really rough couple of years, if I'm being honest. Like, I feel like the past year has been the hardest year for me mentally. Shittest year I've ever had in my life. Even when I was at school getting bullied, this has just been the hardest year. Trying to just juggle everything. You know, I was with Meg for 8 years, engaged, had a house together, and that ended through me. I had made that decision, do you know what I mean? And, you know, and then I was with my ex and stuff, and with her for a year. I had a daughter and I was a dad, and that ended. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, I actually, when I went out with the lads on Saturday, I actually said to them, I was like, look, I just want to apologise. I was like, because everything I say is negative at the minute. Like, it's all bad. It's all doom and gloom and that. And my mate turned around, he was like, yeah, but your life's pretty shit, innit? Like, it's all bad news, innit, all the time. And I was like, yeah, you know, you don't sit there, get paid what, as a director, yeah, you get looked after with money and stuff, but you don't sit there and go, oh yeah, buzzing, like, all my problems can go away because I can go to Flannels on Saturday and buy myself something nice.
Yeah.
No, man, you just fucking, it's not even about that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's just kind of...
Is it like does it feel at times like just a hamster wheel that ain't ever stopping?
100%.
If I can't get off it.
Yeah, can't get off it. I kind of said to myself the other day, like, whether I walk into work tomorrow or whether I don't walk ever into work again, it's still going to be there and it's still going to run. Like, that's why we have managers and stuff. So it's like this week, I'm just taking a week, man. I'm just chilling for a bit. Like, I've got a meeting on Thursday with my accountant, but that's pretty much it.
Have you got to the point, do you think, where you can do that now?
Yeah.
You can take a little bit of a step back at times and go,
yeah,
do you know what? It must be hard, right, when you build something from scratch to ever go.
Yeah.
That must be tough.
It's making sure that the people who run it have got your vision in mind.
Because no one's ever going to care as much as you do, right?
No, we have probably got, I don't know, let's see, probably 7-8 people in the business who are sold out, who want this to be big. But yeah, I mean, like like your job as a business owner is to theoretically build and move on. That's what Rob is at 200 Degrees, is a business builder. Builds it, moves on. Builds it, sells it, builds it, sells it, builds it, sells it. That's how he makes his money and stuff. So yeah, like, I don't know, I'm kind of just in a weird spot.
It seems like you're just figuring things out, mate.
Yeah.
I think, like, people, for me, it was about 25. I just got to 25 and I just went, what is this all about? I've got no idea why I'm here.
100%.
Like, am I here to have kids? Am I here to, like, I don't get it. This makes no sense to me, but I'm literally doing, like, cartwheels and getting paid for it.
Yeah.
I'm not saving lives.
Yeah.
I don't get any of this. Yeah. And I just started almost asking some very big questions of other people, and they couldn't give me the answers, and I had to I ended up figuring it out on my own, but it was a long journey that's been 3, 4, 5 years, and people are much more open about talking about their mental health in the last few years and stuff.
I get this. People are like, I had a bit of a situation the other day, and I felt like shit, and I kind of put something on Instagram. That's why I'm not on Instagram anymore. And I had a lot of people who were like messaging me, and I was just like, you're not messaging me to talk about this, because I don't know. I don't know you are. Like, I'm not going to sit there and tell you my story.
It's like a bit of virtue signaling type thing.
Well, it's like them going, oh, I got in there and I messaged him. So if he does anything, I did my bit. Do you know what I mean?
If I've ever done anything like that, especially like in the last probably like 12 months, like my granddad passed away at the start of the year. The really cool thing for me was that, like, there was about 15 lads that privately messaged me, and they just said, look, if I know this will be hard for you because you're granddad, and they're aware of my previous mental health issues, and they said, look, if you ever want to go for a walk or a coffee or something, just let me know. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that's cool. Like, there's a bit of a network or an understanding amongst young men that this is normal, because I think I talk to a lot of my best mates right now, and we're all similar age. Some are engaged, some aren't, some are single, some are having kids. And as a guy, I just think we're not very good at looking after relationships. Generally speaking, I think women are better at that. So, you know, I know a lot of my friends that might go the whole week without talking to a mate or another lad. Yeah. And if you do that for long enough, it's a lonely place to be, man. And I just wanted to just hear from you a little bit about that. Just about, you know, everybody now wants to come out and be, I've got a mental health issue. It's become a thing, hasn't it? And it's almost hard now at times to, and this is the worst thing to do, because you should never question mental health. But at times I'm like, have you got a problem? Or is it just the cool thing to say right now? It's like lining yourself up with a charity. I remember when I was a young athlete, I had a conversation with an agent once, and they said, like, what charities are you into? And I was like, what? And they were like, we should probably start lining you up with a charity for your image. I can remember thinking, that's weird. But do you know what I mean? So, what's your, like, how do you feel about that at the minute? Just in general, I guess, with, like,
What was
yourself personally, like your mental health, because you've alluded to it a little bit, but then more just in society. I mean, where do you think we're going wrong as like young people at the moment?
I think that we're just. I think there's more single people than there's ever been. Like the biggest threat to the biggest threat to humans is depopularization. Like we're producing less babies. My grandma and granddad had like 5 kids.
Yeah.
My grandma's grandma had 9 kids. My granddad's dad had 12 kids. It's like we're not reproducing because the reason for that is the minute it gets a little bit tough in a relationship, it's so easy to just fuck off and go on Instagram and find that girl who liked your photo and DM her, just give her some fucking side eyes. That's what it's like. Yeah. I think that we're going through a lot. I know I talk about relationships a lot, but it's something I'm really passionate about and something I've been really figuring out and stuff. And I'll touch on what you said in a minute, but this is gold. Like the relationships now are, you could be on Tinder or something like that, and you could be looking at this most amazing girl that you've ever seen, and she's got the job that you like, the full package. You look at her and go, I could have the best life with her. But then you go, if I just swipe right, I might find someone a little bit better. That's the problem with relationships now. It's like no one wants to talk. No one wants to graft. Yeah. There's no excitement anymore. It's all about sex. Do you know what I mean? It's not about building it anything. And if people do find it, then yeah, great. Like you find a rare one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the problem is now with young, like the younger generation, like our generation, pressure, man. It's fucking pressure. Like, I do think mental health is a problem, and I think there's pressure. There's someone out there who says that thinks that you should be having kids by now. And you should have a little tribe of people like underneath you, and you should be married. You should have this. Oh, your wedding's got to be this much. Do you know what I mean? Oh, they only spent $5,000 on the wedding. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck off. Like, how much more do you want me to do? Like, whereas,
how do you think you ignore that noise then? Because you can do it, can't you? But it's hard. You have to do things like you're doing, maybe like literally delete social media.
Yeah. And I mean, how do you get
to the point where we had a little conversation beforehand, and I think I managed to get to this point where like, as long as like my family and my closest friends like love me and think I'm a good person, I don't care about anything else. So if my mum says I don't like you here, fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
You like me? I'm doing all right now. Like, you love me.
Yeah.
That's all I need. Like, how do you get to that point, do you think? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know.
Do you think everybody goes on that journey and maybe like we're just having a midlife crisis a bit earlier on than having it, we might not have a yellow sports car when we're 45 or 50, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean...
It's just a strange time at the minute, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's weird time. Fucking mortgages. You can't get a mortgage. You can't. Like, they're fucking too expensive. People are living with parents for a lot longer. Parents are getting annoyed with it. There's pressure to buy a house. There's pressure to meet someone. There's pressure to do all this stuff. There's the pressure to look a certain way. Yeah. Girls want this guy who's 6 foot fucking 2, like long hair, like fucking muscles, 6-pack, tattoos, you name it, great job, mentally stable and everything. Like, you want all these things. Let's take your fucking your false lashes off. Let's take your extensions off. Let's get rid of your fake tan. Let's get rid of your fake tits and your fake arse. You want me to be like that? I want you to be real. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want something that's very like, it's not possible. This is a risk. Like, my mate, do you know James Freeman?
I don't know.
He's a specimen and a half, man. Like, he's stunning. Like, great body, muscle. He's just the nicest guy in the world. He's like fucking Charizard Pokemon card. Do you know what I mean? Not many of them are bad, but when you do, it's gold. And he's a rare case of it and stuff. And it's like, I think that there's a lot of pressure for people. Don't want to get disappointed. Yeah. People don't want to get let down, and people don't want to get turned away and stuff. But I think people are just. I think we're scared now. Like, what about if it does work out? What about if you meet someone and that person there turns out to be the best thing that's ever happened to you?
It's that fear of failure.
Yeah, because it's fear of failure, because no one wants to, and especially someone like me, like, who's been in 2 big relationships and stuff, well, a couple of big relationships in my life. I am sitting there and going like, I don't think I can do this again. But it's a catch-22 because it's like, I don't want to be on my own anymore. Yeah. So I'm kind of like weighing it up and stuff. But
And every time you start again, you have to, you know what, right, if this is going to work, there's so many steps we have to go through for you to learn everything about me, for we to get to the point where we start even going on holiday. You're like, this is a lot. That's why I think it's hard as you get older to make new friends, because you're like, to share each other's life story, it's going to be a long...
And you know, you just touching on the step things and stuff, it was like, you know, before it'd be like, oh, you know, we're dating. Now boyfriend and girlfriend. You know, now it's like, oh, we're talking. Oh, we're sleeping with each other. Oh, we're seeing each other. Oh, now we're dating. Now we're boyfriend and girlfriend. There's 5 different fucking steps to get to the fucking end goal. It's like, why are you breaking it down to this? Like, if you enjoy spending time with someone, spend some time with them. Like, you know, I don't have I like currently, if I'm being honest, I don't have a great relationship with my mum and my grandparents and stuff at the minute. I think we're crossing paths a little bit too much because I think it's just my headspace. Okay. I think that's playing a lot on... Our family are very pessimistic. Right. You know, that's not going to work. And I'm an optimist. Do you know what I mean? I'm always hoping that things are going to work out. And I love them to bits and they're my world. But at the end of the day, like, I can't be around there too long because it just pulls my optimism away from me.
Well, if you're someone that you've said to me, you're someone that's pretty self-destructive, and if you're in a negative space, you know, when I was in that place and I was really struggling, I was like, I need to be around positive people because I can't, like, I need people bringing me up. Because at the minute, I'm bringing myself down. I need to be around that energy.
And people, like, one thing people say to me is, oh, yeah, but look at what you've got. It's just like...
But it don't matter, does it? Because you could be the richest man on the planet, but your mum's still going to die.
My grandma said this to me once. She said, I think I had an argument with Meg. And she was like, oh, look, money can't buy happiness. I'm like, what has that got to do with my argument? Like, why is that? Why am I... Why are you even sat there questioning that? Like, I've had an argument. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? Like, have an argument and be like, oh, it's all right because I got a couple of grand in the bank. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just not the reality, is it, mate? I think it was like Jim Carrey said something like, I wish everybody could spend a day being famous because then they'd realise they don't want to be famous.
It's like, you talk about, like, you hear about, like, singers and stuff going on, like, 80 shows over 80 nights in 80 different cities and stuff. Like, they have, like, a drug allowance. They'll have, like, a alcohol allowance. They'll have all this stuff because you cannot get someone to do that. That's working 12-hour days for 80 days straight. Not seeing your family, not seeing your friends. Just hanging around with the people that you're with.
Yeah, there's a give and a take with everything.
Like, you've got to understand that, like, that's going to take its toll on someone mentally. That's why when the singers go on tour and stuff, they need a break afterwards. You fucking catch them in rehab. You know what I mean? Like, in Malibu or something like that, Bali or something. But, I think that... To kind of conclude on what you were saying, I think that you know, stuff's more expensive. I think humans were earning a lot more money than we've ever earned before, but it counteracts it with just the cost of everything goes up. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't. Like, when I was a kid at college, man, my mum used to give me like £3 and you could get lunch for that. You know, now £3 wouldn't get you fuck all. You couldn't even get a meal deal from Tesco for that. But yeah, I think that, like...
It's hard. I think it's probably hard for, like, the younger generation to see a way out at the minute because everyone's saying they're screwed as well. Yeah. Everyone's like, you're screwed. Yeah. Like,
and because stuff's more expensive, you can't necessarily get the thing that you want. You've got to have the thing that you can afford. Yeah. You can't have a 4-bedroom house.
That's probably hard right now for people that have been living this life for the last 5-6 years where everything's on finance. And it's quick fixes and it's weekend millionaires. That's probably... It's tough, isn't it? It's tough to take a step back. Yeah. It's tough to go backwards.
And you can see that, like, you can see the people are still living in that kind of, you know, that weekend millionaire
They'll
thing.
Push it for as long as they can. I guess you're probably someone that's started a business and faces rejection all the time. You're just probably used to it. It's fine. It's part of the process. It's not a problem.
Yeah. You know, your store's not doing too great one day or something like that. It's bad news. Do you know what I mean? It's all... You know, you got problems with staff. Well, it's bad news. Do you know what I mean?
Expect to wake up having bad news, don't you?
And that's why, like, I can't go on holiday. That's why I can't go away for a long periods of time and stuff because I just end up getting to a point of, it's just really hard for me to walk away from it and be like, and not have feelings towards it and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, not thinking it's going to go wrong. Like, Meg suffers with her anxiety really bad. Like, we both do. Do you know what I mean? Not anxiety like social anxiety or anything like that. We're both very sociable people. We've always have been. But anxiety to the thing of, like, sometimes when it's going okay,
You're like, what's going to happen?
you're like, oh God, we're gearing up for something here, or like, you know, something happens and like, yeah, it comes in free, so we've got, right, what's next? Right, van breaks down.
Yeah.
£3,000 to fix it. Buzzing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's hard to kind of see how companies go from like this size to like
to the next step.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I've got it
whether
in
you
me.
want to do it. Yeah, whether you want to do that.
Yeah, I definitely we'd need like a CEO to come in and kind of do it for us, or business manager to just manage the whole thing, make better decisions. Because that's another thing with him starting a company and stuff. Like you got to be ready to pay people a lot more than you can get paid, because you people are better than you.
Yeah.
Like there is people who are way better than me at whatever I do. Do you know what I mean? Like people have gone to uni for stuff, and it's like my agent, Ole, amazing guy. He finds us all of our shops. He does all the like the work behind the shops of like getting all the data of how many people are there, and he negotiates rents and stuff like that. Whereas before, we would go view a shop, we'd go ring up, can we view it? Meet the landlord, meet the agent. Oh yeah, how much is it? Oh, it's $25,000 a year. Blah blah. And it's like, oh yeah, yeah, that's great. And then they'd go, it's $25,000 a year, or it's it's $25,000 a year, 5-year lease, and then after year 3 it goes to $30,000 a year, and year 4 it goes to $35,000 a year. Oh yeah, sound. We'll have it. You know, nah, like it's nothing like that. Ollie goes in and he's like, they want it for $20,000 a year. They want 6 months rent free and a capital contribution, and we win all the time. Like we pay like in rents, man. Like we pay like £7,500 a week in rent a week. Like £7,500 a week
for every store, for everything,
for everything, for all the stores, all the outlets, everything. Like £7,500. We have companies who take 10% offers and stuff. A small rent, but 10% turnover. And then if you got a site that's making $500,000, they're taking $50,000 off you a year. Do you know what I mean? Plus that, which is kicks you in the bollocks sometimes, but.
So it's that knowledge, having access to that knowledge, and figuring out quickly, right, what am I good at, what am I not good at. Let's get people into those spaces where I'm not good.
Yeah. And
they can take care of that, and I can concentrate on the bit that I'm good at.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I love making donuts. Like, I'm dead creative. I find that my creativity took a real big knock, because how I've been feeling mentally over the past year. I used to be able to come up with like flavours and menus and stuff, and I'd do it in my spare time and stuff. And you know, now that's just not something that I can do at the minute. And I'm not afraid to say that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We have a great at work. We have a great support system with everyone who's always there for you and stuff and everything, which is good. You can come in and say, I'm really struggling today, and then they will kind of sit you down and we'll have a chat and stuff, which is nice. But
what would you say, mate? What if you had a young Wade sitting in front of you and he says, I want to be a businessman, I want to be an entrepreneur, I got this idea. What advice would you give him?
Just
knowing what you know now. Or would you say, just go do your thing, man?
Just, I don't know, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
There's
no blueprint.
No. There's just because he needs to learn all this shit. He needs to go through the shit. But there's a lot about my childhood that I can't remember. Like, and my counsellor says it's trauma. Like, you just black it out. Like, he asked me questions about when I was a kid, and I'm like, I don't even know. I can't remember anything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that I don't know that's contributed. And I think if I went and started digging really deep, it'd fucking mess me up. Do you know what I mean? And stuff. Nothing ever bad happened to me. It's just stuff like thinking about, like how you're saying about the 10-year-old me and stuff. I went to a mental health retreat, and we did a cacao guided meditation. And fucking hell, man, like I thought I was in this meditation for like 15 minutes. I fucking drank this cacao. You know what cacao is, don't you? Yeah. It's like raw chocolate. It fucking tastes like shit. It's the worst thing in the world. And drank it anyway. They like lied us down and stuff. Anyway, they're like guiding you through this meditation. They're telling you to like, you know, like stand up, like you're like astroform, stand up like your body and stuff. And this was like day 3, so I'm like well into my fucking like spiritual side by this, you know what I mean? I've been drinking green tea, eating salads for like fucking 2-3 days. Anyway, they did it, and they basically like said that, like, imagine you're climbing out your body and you're like looking at your body on the floor. They basically guided us and said walking up this field and on this top of this mountain where we was and stuff like that, which was like crazy. And then they was like sit down in front of you from when you was 10. And what would he be seeing? And would he be proud of what you are? Would he recognise who you are and stuff? Blokes were coming out of it sobbing.
Yeah.
Like, blokes were just like distraught. And it kind of sat with me. And I'll be honest with you, for about 5 days after that, I just had this feeling of just everything was okay. And then went back to work and shit sandwich. You know what I mean?
Jump back into the rat race.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I've still got all the notes from it and stuff and things like that. But yeah, that was really, I didn't know what to kind of say to myself, really. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to go on like a proper fucking like Amazon rainforest retreat thing, but they're so expensive.
Mate, so I travelled around South America and I really wanted to do ayahuasca and DMT.
Yeah.
And then I had an experience that I'll tell on the podcast one day where I'd gone on a night out in Loughborough and got spiked. And after that, I just agreed with my fiance, I won't do drugs. It's fine. I'm too. I don't need them. I'm a bit mad anyway.
So many people say with that ayahuasca that like you come away from it and like it's so.
I think it depends on what mood you're in, who you're with, like. So I've had to swear to her now that I won't do it.
You have to have like a shaman and everything to guide you through it all and stuff like that.
It was like, because we went into the Amazon and we were in Ecuador and it was like, you could do that and stuff. And I was like, oh, and she was like, not a chance. I was like, all right, that's fair enough. To finish then, mate, just tell me about what are your hopes for the company and then what are your hopes for yourself, like moving forward?
For the company, I think we're going to kind of maintain where we are for a little bit. Just chill. Iron out some problems, just patch up some bits that aren't really working great. For me, I don't know, I'm just going to kind of just keep doing what I'm doing because I'm slowly getting a little bit better, not kind of, recognising the faults and stuff and just working on it and stuff and just really, I don't know, just trying to be better, like getting back into training now, gym and stuff. That was a big part of my life and stuff, so getting back into that. Learning. I need a challenge. Yeah, I need a challenge. Like there's nothing challenging me at the minute, and that's where I think. But my counsellor says, why don't you just challenge yourself to be the best version of you can be, for yourself as well. Don't get a six pack for anyone else. Just do it for you. Yeah. And I'm just gonna think I'm gonna do that and just, I don't know, have a stab at it, make some investments, secure my future a little bit. Yeah, stop being loose with cash. Stop buying stupid shit. Yeah. Tellies. I buy tellies. I love tellies. Like I'm not just saying like I have like an abundance of tellies in my house.
How many tellies?
So like a hoarder. Like I love cinema and stuff. Like, right, but I've got like.
What's your favourite film ever?
Oh, I can't tell you, man.
I can't do it either. I have like a favourite film for like a period of my life. An age I was at that I love different films.
I flat out refuse to watch stuff from like past 2000s. I can't.
Before 2000s?
Yeah, I cannot. Yeah, before 2000s. I cannot watch.
So the cut-off is like Gladiator?
Yeah, that's about as far as I can go. Like, I can't ever watch the stuff that's just like shit CGI and stuff. Like Oppenheimer was like an amazing film, but it was so shit at the same time because there was no CGI in it. Like, it's just like... So yeah, I just kind of, I don't collect TVs. I've just got like a few big TVs that are just in a room not doing anything. So I'm just kind of like sat like what, like I was like, our marketing manager just got a house and I was like, oh, I've got this like fucking 100-inch Samsung TV. I was like, paid like $4,000 for it. I was like, you can have it for £1,000. And she was like, yeah, son. So she's moving in with her friends and they was like, oh yeah, we'll have it. Anyway, I looked and I was like, oh, I sold the Samsung one. I was like, this is a different one. And then I was like, oh, we don't want it now. Anyway, I was like, fucking hell. But yeah, I'm just kind of, focus on myself.
Good, mate. I think the best compliment I could give your company is that when I went travelling in South America, for some reason Dunkin' Donuts is massive over there. So every time we're in an airport, they'd take like a tray of 12 home for their family. Yeah. It was really weird, and we went through 10 different countries. And the whole time, Connie would be like, oh, why don't you get a donut? I'd be like, won't be as good as Doughnotts. And like, that's genuine. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a sign when the product is really good. Yeah. It's just always. And I've got friends, I've got teammates that love it go down to the shop. So there's a lad called Frank, one of my good mates. He lived in Liverpool, moved here. He loves it, mate. He goes every week. But he doesn't know that I know you, so that it's nothing. I've never told him about it, but that's a sign of a good product. And
did Body Power?
Yeah, we were at Body Power.
Oh, your
me
boys
and my
at
mates were doing something. Yeah, we got a photo of that.
That guy, the like short, stocky one. Is he the one who hangs around with Niall now?
What? Big, strong
Yeah,
lad,
yeah,
Courtney.
yeah. Was he there?
He was there, yeah.
Is he hang around with Niall?
No.
He just looked like the guy.
Yeah. But yeah, all of the lads were there, and then.
Man.
But yeah, that's the biggest compliment I think I could give you, company, mate. And then for you personally, having met you a little bit and know you a little bit, I think you'll be successful in whatever you do. I think you get an energy when you meet people. You're like, oh, this guy's a little bit different. And considering what you've told me today and your backstory, yeah, I think that little version of you would be proud, mate.
I appreciate that.
Cool. So, thanks for coming on podcast, mate.
No worries,
really
appreciate it.
It.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Have a nice
Sam.
day.
Yeah,
thanks,
Sam, man.